Hello, guys. Here I am, late a minute again. We had an emergency at work and we had to do a call down tree. So I was in the middle of a phone call trying to get that done. So seems like the place I work is having the same issues I am. Their pipes are doing something. Let me get this door shut real quick. Otherwise, we will have several cats in here helping me with my live tonight. So hopefully everybody's doing great. Tell me what your weather is where you're at. Today we got to 43 on West Central Illinois. So if you think about it, Chicago is on the other side. We're just exactly on the opposite side of Illinois, closer to Iowa. And 43, no precip. So I'm happy with that. It does sound like California is going to get some rain finally, but now they're probably going to have mudslides because of all the burning. So, anyway, my name is Laura. Healthy Carnivore is my handle, and I'm a nurse. I'm an RN. I've been a nurse for over 22 years, going on 23. I did keto for 28 years, and then I switched over to carnivore in 19, and then somewhere in 20 end of 22, I switched over to the lion diet. And for me, that's kind of what works. Occasionally, I will try some like fermented salsa and fermented pickles. And most of the time, I don't have any issues, but I only do that usually about once a month. Same with eggs. I cannot do much of the egg whites. I can do a couple egg yolks to one egg white, and then I'm okay. So that is me. So I'm going to go over some stuff. Hey, Tara, that's awesome. 56 degrees. I'll bet you felt like going outside in shorts. That's pretty nice. Karen said in Arkansas, they got to 50. Wonderful and sunny. Yeah, we had some pretty good sun today, too. It was still a little windy, but I was like, I will take it compared to the -9 I had last Monday when I was seeing patients and freezing to death. T says, hi, Dr. Laura, LOL. Here in Southwest Ohio, we got up to 36, no precip. Yes, that's great. And I know 36 isn't great, but it's above freezing and no ice if you're not having precipitation. So that's always a good thing, huh? Okay, so I will get started. Also, if there's any questions that you have, throw them in the comments and just put a QQQ in front of it. That kind of helps me see it so I don't miss any. I mean, if I would miss it, I would, I'd answer it after the fact, which is fine. But I would like to answer it for you on here. Or if you have something privately, all of my information to reach me through email, everything else is out in the description if you want to look that up on my page. All right. So, polycystic kidney disease, another just PKD is what we call it in the health community. Um, I should say medical community, but I prefer to call what I do health community because I don't follow those same ways of doing things. So, polycystic kidney disease is genetic disorder which where clusters of fluid-filled cysts develop on the kidneys. It causes the kidneys to actually enlarge, and they lose function when that happens. So there's two types. There's what they call autosomal dominant, which is the most common. I worked with a lady who's actually a nurse practitioner now, and this is the one she has. She has the autosomal dominant. I believe her father had it. I think her mother was recessive gene, but her dad actually actively had it. So, um, and she's had two normal pregnancies. She just has to be very careful. Autosomal recessive is the other kind. It is more rare and it often shows up very early, like infancy, toddler, they'll see it. Where a lot of times this other one doesn't really show up until adulthood. Sometimes it can be young adulthood, like 25s and something like that. I think that's about how old this gal was when she found hers. And I think it was in her first pregnancy that they actually figured out. And I don't know if her numbers went off. I'm not sure exactly how they found it. I just remember her talking about that, and she was really scared at first. What causes PKD? It is a mutation in specific genes. It's either in the PKD1 or the PKD2 gene. Um, the the one that is the autosomal recessive gene, that one is always going to be the PKHD1 gene. Always is going to be that one. The autosomal dominant one could be either PKD1 gene or PKD2 gene. I know those sound alike, but these genetic mutations lead to abnormal cyst formation, impairing the kidney function. Factors that can exacerbate the PKD include high blood pressure, kidney infections, and poor lifestyle habits. Um, I will tell you that the gal I know that had this had recurrent urinary tract infections and polynephritis, which is infection from usually from the bladder that travels up the ureters into the kidneys. And that is what she would get quite often. She wasn't a big drinker. She wasn't a big smoker. She didn't do anything bad. She was pretty straight arrow. So some of the lab tests that you'll want to do, probably the primary one, you're going to always usually start with blood tests. So, they're going to do serum creatinine and BUN, which is blood urea nitrogen. Elevated levels could indicate impaired kidney function. But I will tell you that being a carnivore, you can see the creatinine and the BUN go up, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the kidneys. So these tests are set to the standard American diet, people. So hopefully someday they'll be able to figure out how to test those of us who are not sick. GFR, which is glomerular filtration rate, lower values reflect decreased. So that's just saying how much can get through there. That is decreased kidney function. You also will have some urine tests. And this test is not great for somebody who is carnivore or meat heavy ketovore, because we eating, this high amount of protein, we are going to have extra protein in our urine. We will have what they call proteinuria, 100% normal for us because that's what we're eating. So most of us will have to be like, we need these other studies done if they think that this is an issue going on. Of course, if you have hematuria, which is blood in the urine, that's an indication that you need to, do some further investigation. Another one is genetic testing, of course, where you can confirm the polycystic kidney disease by identifying mutations in the genes that are associated with that. So the like I said, you always want to start with like your blood test, your urine test, but just knowing that if you are ketovore, carnivore, some of these are going to be a little bit elevated than the normal people who are on the standard American diet because of the increased protein that we take in. So I would say if you have a family history, somebody else that has this, like mother, father, brother, sister, things like that, first degree relatives, then if you're having issues, then I would definitely push to have these other tests done. So the other tests that I would really request would be ultrasound, which will be able to at least see the cysts. I mean, you can just see them on the kidneys, and then CT or MRI. Because those are going to be more definitive, like the size of the cyst, how active they are, and then they're also going to be able to determine even better what your kidney function is. Um, and I don't know, do any of you guys know anybody that has polycystic kidney disease? I know of the one, like I said, that I worked with. I have taken care of people with it, but not very many. I'd say it's not as common as a lot of other disorders that are out there and diseases. So keto and carnivore diets, they're not going to ever be able to, that I know of, completely reverse this just because it is a genetic. I'm not saying you can't get it like no, like, you know, 80% better because I do believe you could because you can heal a lot of that stuff. But you are still going to have to be careful, if you're somebody that has this. But that's okay. You could also really slow down the progression. So this gal that I know who is a nurse practitioner, she does keto and she has kept it at bay. Gosh, I worked with her probably 17, 18 years ago. I'd say 18 years ago. And she does fine. I mean, she does really good. So I think as long as she's very careful about the type of vegetables that she takes in and the oxalates and stuff like that as well. I think she found that too high of oxalate type vegetables did cause her issues. So by going keto, ketovore, or carnivore, the ways that that can help reduce and really decrease the polycystic kidney disease is going to be first by reducing inflammation, which is, I mean, how many times do you hear that with all these metabolic diseases that, it's inflammation, 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 you've got to get rid of that. So, those diets that I listed, they lower systemic inflammation, which is protective of the kidneys, which I think is another reason why we have seen people who have like chronic kidney disease level 3, 4, getting ready to jump into 5, and it's time to put a dialysis, an AV fistula in to do a dialysis, have been able to get that reversed because it is so good. The keeping the inflammation down is so protective of the kidneys that they can heal. The other thing that these, keto, ketovore, and carnivore can do is they can improve your blood sugar. So, whenever you can keep your blood sugar at a more stable instead of having all these peaks and valleys, you reduce oxidative stress. And when you have oxidative stress, it causes inflammation. Okay. And we can't get rid of all of the oxidative stress in our lives. You can do the best you can, and that's basically what you can do. And that's all you can do. Right. So the other is trying to, with this diet is that over time you can lower the blood pressure, and some people it takes a lot longer than others. I know some that have been on this for a year and they are still having trouble with their blood pressure, but I do think that the person I'm thinking of indirectly, I believe, has a genetic family thing going on with the kidneys. um, and so we may have to dig deeper for that person to be able to kind of get them figured out. And then, of course, everybody knows that when you are doing any of the ketogenic style diets, is that you are doing autophagy. And especially once you start integrating some form of fasting, whether that be OMAD, whether that means 48-hour, 36, however long, that you are putting yourself into a deeper ketosis, which will absolutely help with cellular repair. Um, and it's been shown to work on like decreasing cell growth of these cysts. So it will decrease those. And those are mutated, not to the point of like a cancer cell, which every cancer cell was a normal cell at one time. It's just that something caused it to go haywire. So, yeah. So, individuals with polycystic kidney disease should work closely with a healthcare provider or nephrologist. And when adopting to any diet, any change in their medication, they should try to work with them and monitor their kidney function, because, let's see, what's it? Yeah. Because when you have compromised kidneys, you do have to be careful about what you're doing, especially with your medication changes. Um, because the kidneys do filter out quite a bit. That's their job for the urine and stuff. The liver, even though I heard somebody recently say that the liver is not a filter, it is. It filters toxins out of the blood. I Anyway, the person should have known better than to say it's not, because it is. It produces bile. it produces it helps get the cholesterol, it does the gluconeogenesis, but it actually absolutely does remove toxins from the blood, and it is also a filter. It just filters differently than kidneys, but it is absolutely a filter. I'm going to shout it from the rooftops because I cannot believe that somebody said that it is not a filter. Anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. So hopefully if all of you, I think have said you don't know. Yeah, that none of you guys really know anybody with that, which is great. Like I said, I think it is somewhat rare, and especially the second one, the recessive, um, polycystic recessive one is definitely more rare. But I have, like I said, I worked at a hospital and I think we had 6,000 employees. And I worked with one nurse, that she had it and her family had it. Her dad had it actively and her mom had a recessive gene, but she had the dominant uh, type. So, and I remember talking with her and asking her if she would ever have to have kidney transplant if she couldn't get them to kind of chill out and just, go along for as well as she can with diet and exercise and things like that. And she said, yeah, that, if it gets to the point where they just can't do anything with it, that is something that they would have to do. So all you can do is all you can do. That's exactly right, T. That's what I always tell people. I always tell people you don't have to strive for perfection. You just got to do what you think you can and try to put one foot in front of the other and do the best that you can. 'Cause that's all we all can do, right? None of us is perfect. I have never walked on water and I can't even walk on ice. So I will fall on my butt, but none of us can do that. So does anybody have any questions? I can tell you what I'm going to go over next week. Um, yeah. So next week is I'm going to go over what are oxalates, oxalate dumping, what are symptoms of that, how to reduce those, things that you can do to kind of counteract those things. And so that's going to be next week's um, thing that I'm going to do. So I am going to tonight. I have more packages. When I was at work today, it was so funny. I was changing a wound vac at a patient's house, and I have my square thing set up on my phone, and it just kept ding, ding, and I was like, "Am I getting text messages from my boss or somebody?" And nope, it was orders coming in. So I made new tooth powder this morning. It's really I I don't know that I can tell a difference that I've added the hydroxyapatite, like with the taste of it or the consistency. It seems to be the same. And I've got really good enamel anyway, but I should be able to really, really see a difference with my husband because in his family, they have crappy enamel, crappy enamel. So we'll see how 3 months of him doing it, and I didn't tell him I added anything new into it, because if you tell my lovely husband that you've added something different, then he's like, I might do that, I may not." So I don't always I'm gonna get him healthy without him knowing it, right? We'll see. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys, and of course, if you like this, if there is anybody that you know of that has the polycystic kidney disease, definitely share that out with them. Share it if you want and like it. And of course, subscribe. I'm sure most of you are subscribed. I do appreciate that. And otherwise, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to get off of here and put together my packages. And I have a new Afghan that I'm starting for a new client. It's really pretty. Once I get it maybe 3/4 of the way done, I'll show you guys just because you can get a better idea of what it looks like. So, oh, Tara says that the tooth powder tastes the same to her. Good. I like that. Karen says she's still trying to perfect the tooth powder. It does take a little time to perfect it, but what I have found, excuse me, is I take my food processor, and I put the xylitol in first and I powder it down even more. Then I add in the salt and the baking soda and add that in. And then when I spoon in the Redmond's bentonite clay, the hydroxyapatite, I just spoon that in with a wooden spoon. I stir that together, take it kind of out, take the little uh, device out of the center of it, with the blade. I take that out and I just spoon mix the rest of those ingredients together and then just jar them up that way. And then I put the clove oil and then whichever scent, if it's going to be cinnamon, peppermint, or spearmint. But that's what I have learned is kind of the best for the consistency that I like. And I do a little bit less salt than I think originally that I had done. So I cut the salt about in half of what it said to do. And I figure part of the reason the salt's in there is for the minerals as well. But I also have the bentonite clay, and you're also doing the hydroxyapatite. So I would just keep trying it, Karen. Just make small batches, just so you know. The cysts to form is because your body cannot break down some of the products that it's trying to get rid of. The kidneys are a filter and they're trying to filter that out and it's in the urine. And so what happens is when that can't get through the kidneys look like, I don't know if you guys know what a radiator looks like. If you would just cut it in half and it has all these little tubules that go like that, kidney kind of looks like that as well. Okay. And you got your nephrons and stuff in there that help with the filtration. You've got your Lupa Henley and all kinds of stuff in there. Anyway, when you're doing that, if those things can't find their way out, they will find their way out. So they will try to come up through the system. They'll break through the little membrane walls, which are just like villi, like little villi fingertip type things, and they'll break through that. And then the body is naturally going to try to form a protective thing over that because you don't want a kidney open because you're going to bleed into yourself. So it's going to try to do that. So you're going to form a cyst, and then more of that fluid from the inflammation is just going to keep filling that. Same as on an ovarian cyst, works very much the same way is that's going to just keep filling. And that one is more related to like hormone issues. So if you have hormonal imbalances and stuff, that really can affect how those ovarian cysts come up. So yeah. Yeah. Karen says she has cut the salt. That's good. That's what I would do too. So maybe just try to blend it in that order, like do the xylitol first and then add in the other ingredients and see if that doesn't help. And I had a small food processor that I was using, and it didn't do as good. So I got out my great big one. I don't even know the maker of it. But anyway, and it's old. It's like 33 years old, but it still works. So I'm using it till it croaks, and then I'll be like, "Crap, I need to go buy one today," right? So, but I have enough stuff prepped. I don't need to have one of those things sitting around if I'm not using it. So, anyway, thank you guys for coming tonight and watching me. And like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. You can send me an email if there's any issues that you're having. If you want to discuss anything privately, you can do that. Otherwise, as I always say, meet, heat, eat, and repeat. See you.